Hello, testing out the stream, testing out the stream. Testing out the sound, testing out the sound. Testing out the sound, testing out the sound. Testing out the sound, testing out the sound. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to Morning Flow with Flip. Woke up a little tight today, so today's sequence is going to be a little passive, and it's just what you need to get your day started. So we're going to do a little bit of Surya A, Surya B, and just kind of go through the sequences that you need to get your body started for the day. I invite you to begin in a Sukhasana pose, also known as a cross-legged seated posture. I invite you to place your hands on your knees. You have the option to sit on a block. This, this will allow more of a cascading effect with your knees. So just allow gravity to do its thing and force your knees down. That'll open up your hips. And at this moment, begin to tap in, dial in to your body. Notice your breathing. If you're breathing through your mouth, begin to inhale and exhale through your nose. In this Sukhasana posture, you also want to lengthen the spine all the way from your tailbone through the top crown of your head. Allow the shoulders to drop away from your ears, creating length in the neck. Once you find yourself comfortable here, begin tapping into your body parts. How do your legs feel? How does your back feel today? Is your neck tense? Are you sore from any exercise you might have done this week? These are the things you have to find out about your body before you commence your practice, so you know your limitations. Some days you might be able to do a posture, some days you might not. It's all about listening to your body and knowing your limits. Some days your limits are higher than others. It's okay. Every day is different. Every practice is different. Every time you do a posture, it's different. Now that you're comfortable in your Sukhasana posture, I invite you to commence three-part breath. In the three-part breath, it's all through the nose. You inhale through the stomach first, so fill up the belly, then your chest, and then your ribs. So you fill up, so fully exhale, and start to inhale through your belly first. Hold it, allow the oxygen to filter through your body. And then a long exhale through your nose, releasing all the toxins. So belly, ribs, chest. Repeat. And exhale it all out. Exhale all those toxins, all those negative thoughts. And really begin to dial your mind in on your body. Focus on your breathing. Focus on your posture. Focus on your technique. Three-part breathing is an excellent way to get more oxygen into your body. Typically, people do not breathe properly or focus on their breathing, so your breath is a little short. Fill up the belly and the ribs and the chest. Now that is three-part breath. The other breath that will introduce during the sequence will be the Ujjayi breath, also known as victory breath. This breath, they call it ocean sounding breath. So when you inhale, you should hear the ocean. as well as when you exhale. Throughout the sequence, you are to maintain this ujjayi breath, and that is the key difference between stretching and yoga, is the breathing part. We have to allow the pranayama to flow all through the body. And in order to do that, we have to open up our airways with the ujjayi breath. The breath should sound like wind whispering by your ears. Allow a slight pause in between inhales and exhales. Now that I've introduced ujjayi breath, we'll make our way onto all fours and begin our sequence. You're welcome to have a block handy throughout the sequence. I'll let you know when it is necessary or you have the option to use it. But at this point, make your way onto all fours. And we're going to start in a table posture. Have your fingers spread apart and your index fingers pointed to the front of the mat, and they should be parallel with each other, shoulder distance apart. Your elbows should rotate outward so the eyes of your elbows are pointed forward. Your knees should be hip width distance, and your feet should be on the top, and you should have the tops of your feet on the mat. There should be a micro bend in the elbows. Gaze is down, and your shoulders are drawn away from your ears. So not like this, but like this. This is a table pose. Your navel should be drawn towards your spine. And do not forget the ujjayi breath. So while we're in this table posture, I invite you to tap into the ujjayi breath. On your next inhale, you're going to drop the belly and raise your gaze forward for a cow pose. And from the cow pose, you're going to exhale, push away from the mat, around your spine, and shift your gaze towards your navel. This is a cat pose. So in the cat pose, you should be like an angry cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. So when you hear cat cows, this is what they're referring to. Always shoulders drawn away from the ears, Exhale. Cat. Inhale, cat. Cow. Exhale, cat. At this, now spread your knees apart to the width of the mat. Move your hands forward. Still, index fingers pointed forward. And I'm going to introduce child's pose. This is a pose that you can always go to if you're feeling your breath is shortening, or if you feel uncomfortable with any posture. This is a hip opener, but also a rest posture. So feel free whenever you're feeling uncomfortable with any posture to use this one. Let's return to a table posture. Roll your toes. Shift your hands a little forward. And you're going to push your hips up and back. And to your first downward dog of the day. This is the downward facing dog. Since it's the first one of the day, you're welcome to walk it out a little. Extend the left leg while bending the right. Extend the right leg while bending the left. Bend both. You're looking for length in the spine in this posture. Draw your shoulders away from the ears. Let the head hang like a mango. And the force of your heels should be drawing towards the mat. It's not necessary to have your heels on the mat, but definitely the force should be heading towards that way. Now slowly inch your hands back to meet your toes at the back of the mat. Bend your knees, round your spine, and slowly, vertebra by vertebra, roll up with your head being the last to rise. Slowly make your way to the front of the mat, really feeling the earth with every step. Every step you take is a blessing. Every breath you take is a blessing. Today is a blessing. Now for the standing postures in Surya A and Surya B, we're going to establish Parabandha. Parabandha is when your feet are rooted down on the ground using the four corners of your feet. So these are the four corners of your feet. Your toes are not necessary for balance. So for Surya A, we're going to start in a mountain pose with our toes together and about 2 inches distance in the heels. In a mountain pose, your gaze should be forward, chin parallel to the earth, shoulders drawn away from the ears as if holding 2 heavy buckets of water. Shift the pelvis forward. So you shouldn't be like this. You should Have your pelvis tilted forward, micro bend in the knees, and rooted down through the four corners of your feet. On an inhale, raise your arms to the sky, shoulders drawn away from the ears, and imagine that you're holding a medicine ball above your head. Arms active, legs active, core active. On an exhale, hinging at the hip, swan dive forward to a forward fold. Welcome to hold your elbows here, bend your knees, and lengthen the spine. Feel out your body. How does this feel? Do you feel tight? Do you feel limber? Placing your hands on your fingertips on your upper shins. Inhale to a halfway lift. Your body should be in an L shape right here, still with parabanda on your feet, creating an L with your body. Exhale, hands on either side of your feet, and step or float your feet to the back of the mat. Exhale, halfway down to chaturanga. And for the first one, we're going to place the tops of our feet on the mat. Hands are about at where your nipples are. And we're going to do a little baby cobra. This is a thoracic bend, so it should be in the middle part of your back. Do not dump into the lower back. And then exhale. Repeat on an inhale. Exhale, release. Now roll your toes over and raise your hips up and back for another downward facing dog. This one should feel a little easier than the first one, as you're a little more warmed up now. You want to hold this for 3 or 4 ujjayi breaths. Really allowing the pranayama to flow through the body. Your hips should be raised as if a harness were pulling it up from the sky. At the bottom of your next exhale, bend your knees, shift your gaze forward, and float or step to the front of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And on an inhale, hinging at the hips, return to mountain pose. Inhale, hands to the sky. Bring your hands together at heart center for samastitihi. You have just completed one round of Surya A. We're going to repeat that sequence with breath to movement. Breath to movement means with every change in posture, is going to be done with an inhale or an exhale. So return to mountain pose. Dial in your ujjayi breath. Inhale, extended mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, lower down to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Tops of the feet planted on the mat. Legs engaged, knees off the mat. Gaze shifted forward. Exhale, roll the toes, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Don't forget to breathe in this portion. Really dial in the ujjayi breath. At the bottom of your next exhale, bend the knees, shift your gaze forward, and lightly step or float to the front of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, back to mountain pose. Inhale, extended mountain pose. Arms to the sky, fingers active, arms active, legs active. Exhale, forward fold. You should feel your forward folds getting deeper and deeper as we go through the sequence. Inhale, halfway lift, creating length in the neck with the shoulders drawn away from the ears. Exhale, hands on the mat, halfway down to chaturanga. Inhale, roll to the tops of your feet, upward facing dog. Exhale, roll the toes over, lift the hips up and back for a downward facing dog. Dial in that ujjayi. It's the victory breath. You're victorious once you get into that posture and you're breathing properly. The bottom of your next exhale, bend the knees, shift your gaze forward and float or step to the front of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, round the spine, and slowly articulate it all the way back up. Take a deep breath in. Pause. And let it all out through your mouth. Gain some new oxygen as we prepare for Surya B. Inhale, extended mountain pose with your hands active, arms active, as if you're grabbing a ball. Chin parallel to the earth, tailbone pulled forward, legs active, Pada Bandha established. Exhale, forward fold. In the forward fold, it's okay to have your knees bent, as the most important part of this posture is to gain length in the spine. Feel free to grab your elbows and rock a little, side to side. Inhale to the halfway lift. Remember, your shoulders should not be like this. They should be drawn down away from the ears, creating that length in the neck. Exhale, hands on either side of the mat. Slightly step or float your way back. Halfway down to chaturanga on an exhale. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, knees down, roll the toes. Shift your hips up and back. To a downward facing dog. This can also be an active recovery posture. When you're in a downward facing dog, really focus on the breathing. This is when you can dial it back in and regulate it if you feel a shortness of breath. The bottom of your next exhale, raise your right leg and bring it to the left side of your right hand. Bring the left heel down to the earth. And with your hands on your hips, rise up. Your hips should be parallel, pointing forward like headlights. So pull your right hip back and your left hip forward. Raise your arms to the sky. And your front leg should be at a 90-degree angle. And avoid dumping in the lower back, like that. So you should be right here. That's warrior one. Exhale, hands down to the side of either side of your foot. Bring the right foot back. Lower halfway down to chaturanga and exhale. Inhale, roll over those toes to the tops of your feet. Legs active, knees off the ground. Upward facing dog. Drop the knees. Roll the toes. Push those hips up and back to a downward facing dog. The bottom of your next exhale, raise that left leg and bring the left foot to the right side of your left hand. Drop that right heel back to the earth and raise up for warrior one. This leg, the front left leg, 90-degree angle, and on your back leg, make sure you're rooting down on the outside edge of your right foot. So not like this, but like this. And then shift your left hip back and your right hip forward so that your hips are pointed in a neutral position forward. Raise the arms, tuck in the tailbone. Warrior one. Exhale. Hands down outside your feet. Lower down to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Drop the knees, roll the toes, and on an exhale, raise those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Keep that distance between the ears and the shoulders. Knees, shift your gaze forward and lightly step or float to the front of your mat. Exhale, forward fold, spine. Your shoulders are drawing down away from your ear. Your palms are facing forward as if you're holding two heavy buckets. Your chin is parallel to the earth. Now we're going to repeat Surya Namaskar B with breath to movement. Inhale, mountain posture. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Shoulders, creating distance from the ears. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands on the either side of your feet. Float back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Typically, you hold it for 3 or 4 breaths. So it's not breath to movement once you get to this part. But you do have to focus on all your different cues. Heels driving down. Micro bend in the elbows. Inhale, raise your right leg. Bring it between your hands. Drop the heel. Rise up. Exhale. Lower down. Bring the right leg back. Lower halfway down to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Drop the knees, roll the toes, raise the hips. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, raise the left leg. Bring it through the right foot. Hips parallel. Raise up for warrior one. Exhale. Hands on the side of the mat. Lower halfway down to chaturanga. Roll over those toes, upward facing dog. On this one, we're going to spread our knees a little and push back into a child's pose. Take this as an opportunity to dial back in that Ujjayi breath. If you feel you're short of breath, take a big inhale and a deep exhale through your mouth. Now slowly inch those hands back so that your toes meet your fingers. Bend the knees, bend the spine, and then slowly articulate it back up. And we're going to walk and make our way to the mat. You're going to spread your legs. The toes should be slightly pigeon-toed. And this is called a wide-legged forward fold. Keeping a micro bend at the knees. This is a simple hinge at the hip forward with your hands placed on the mat. Allow the space between your ears and your shoulders. The gaze should be down. Inhale, rise up. Now you're going to bring those heels, heel toe them a little closer together. And we're going to bring our hands to heart center, bending at the knees, dropping the hips. Frog pose. In this posture, you want your elbows to be pressing against your knees and your knees to be pressing against your elbows, all while keeping your chest and gaze forward. This is also called the poo stance. Inhale, stand back up and shift that left foot. Aim it towards the front of your mat, and then your right foot should be perpendicular to your left foot. You're going to extend your left leg forward and reach forward while bringing the right hip back. Then you're going to drop the left hand to your left ankle and then reach up. Exhale. Bring it back down. And then bring both feet pointed forward as if they were on train tracks for a triangle pose. Inhale, raise up. Shift that foot perpendicular to your front foot. Bring the front foot further forward. And we're going to drop down into a warrior two. Your hips should be open. Left knee at 90 degrees, pointed over your second toe. Rooted down on the outside edge of your back heel, of your back foot. Bring your torso perpendicular to the earth and shift your gaze over your left middle finger. Focus on that breathing through the nose, Ujjayi breath. Place your left elbow on your left thigh and bring your right arm across. Now extend that left leg. Place your right hand on your right hamstring and then gaze over to your left fingertips. Shift the heel toe, reach forward with that left hand, then drop it down. Exhale, bring the hand back. Now we're going to shift over our warrior two to the right leg being in the front. So rooting down on the outside edge of your left foot, 90 degrees on your right knee, hips open to the side of your mat. Raise your arms for warrior two. Torso perpendicular with the ground. Right elbow on right thigh. Reach over and then look over your left hand. Extend that right leg and place your left hand on your left hamstring. Bring that right arm over your body and look over towards your right hand. Return to neutral position. Heel toe that left foot to shorten the distance between your feet. Reach out with your right hand while pulling this hip back, creating a triangle pose. Drop that left hand and then point both feet towards the front of your mat for a pyramid pose. Here you have the option to use your block if it makes it more comfortable. Using your core, raise up. And return to a wide-legged forward fold. Hit toes pigeon-toed, hinging at the hips, lower down. Inhale, raise back up. Bring your feet together and just shake it out. Shake that right leg, shake the left leg, shake the right arm, shake the left leg. Swivel the hips. And make your way onto your back. Extend your legs forward. Bring your palms, face your palms towards the sky. And bring your chest up, keeping a long length in the spine for a boat pose. This will tone your core and also give you core strength in your back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, raise up to a boat pose. Exhale. Inhale to a boat pose. Exhale. Now bring your feet under your knees. Place your palms on the floor. And with your knees pointed directly forward at hip width distance, press against your feet and raise your hips for a bridge pose. Bring your shoulders underneath your torso. Interlace your fingers. Release that interlace. Raise your heels and slowly articulate your back down, starting with your upper back, your middle back, and finally your lower back. Repeat the bridge pose one more time. Raise the hips. Interlace the fingers. Release the interlace. Raise the heels and articulate it back down. Now bend the left knee, bringing your right ankle to your left ankle to your right knee, and shift your hips over to the left, dropping that left foot onto the earth, and then grab with your right hand, grab your left ankle, and shift your gaze over to your left shoulder, all while keeping this knee away from your head. Return to center. Give your legs a hug. Rock side to side. Place your feet back down underneath your knees. Extend the right leg. Bend it so that your right ankle is on your left thigh. Shift the hips to the right side of your mat. And then drop that right foot down to the earth. Grab that right ankle with your left hand. And shift your gaze over to your right shoulder. Return to center. Extend your legs. Extend your arms while keeping the distance between your shoulders and your ears. Just a big, long, full body stretch. Bring your elbows inside of your knees and grasp the outside edges of your foot and root down your tailbone as well as your shoulders for a happy baby pose. In this posture, you're welcome to rock side to side. This is a great hip opener. Also a great posture to do in bed before you get out of bed in the mornings. Release the happy baby. Give your legs a hug. Bring your forehead to your knees and kiss each one of your knees. And now, the favorite posture, shavasana. Allow yourself to melt in this posture. Return to normal breathing. And again, tap back into your body. Feel your back. Feel your calves melting onto the mat. Your feet falling freely. Your lower back melting down. Your palms towards the sky. It's almost as if you're in a mountain pose, but laying down. In this posture, your body is able to absorb all the medicine that you just provided it with your yoga postures. Don't allow your mind to stray. Bring it back into your body. Bring your knees up so that your lower back is pressed on the floor. And shift it over to your right side for a fetal position, which you can also extend your right arm and rest your head on your right bicep. And with your left hand, place it on the earth and use it to push yourself up back into a seated Sukhasana posture. If at the commencement of the sequence you had your left foot forward, I challenge you to change it, to get a little different feel. Now see if your body feels any different now than it did in the beginning of the sequence, in the beginning of this practice. Keep those shoulders drawn away from the ears. And let's have a collective Om wherever